So since it is possible to be in love with more than one person at the same time, the other side asked me to create this video talking about polyamory and polygamy. They are in no way, shape, or form casting shame or judgment or anything at you guys. They are just asking you to take a closer look at your intentions and make sure you chose the lifestyle that is aligned with unconditional love for others and unconditional love for yourself. They just want to make sure you guys are being true to yourself in the process, because when they look at the lifestyle you guys have chosen, they do have some energetic concerns, because your soul is a ball of energy and universal energies are constantly responding to that. So they just want to make sure that you are happy with the familial structure or relationship patterns that you have chosen to engage in. That's pretty much all this is. The first thing that the other side was concerned about was the energetic imbalance of a polygamy type of situation where you have like one man or one woman with multiple spouses. So it could be like one wife with multiple husbands, one husband with multiple wives. They are worried about that imbalanced energetic exchange where one person is getting their needs met by multiple people and you are getting your needs met by one person. So they don't like the fact that that giving and receiving energy is actually out of balance. They're concerned about that because they're saying it's not an equal or fair energetic exchange. And there's like there are two different energies here. This is more for like the polygamy type of relationship, because the polyamory relationship, you know, you could have multiple lovers, your lovers have multiple lovers, so it's not one-sided. Like freedom goes both ways, where, you know, the men and the women can do whatever they want. They can be in love with multiple people at the same time, and they have that freedom. So that's a little more of an even energetic exchange. But with the polygamy, that's where they were worried about it being unfair and essentially leading to emotional confusion, because you have a part of your soul that lives on the other side called the higher self. And your higher self is very concerned about soul's growth. So your higher self is going to try to guide you towards a soulmate or a twin flame so that you can achieve the most soul's growth and the most intimate connection possible in order to attain that soul's growth. So your higher self kind of has a hidden agenda there. And when your higher self isn't really getting what they want, I can see them energetically sending you confusing emotions, or, you know, maybe your gut feels kind of weird, or you're just getting really emotionally confused with the situation. So your comfort level is going to be of utmost importance here. So make sure you're journaling and turning inward and paying close attention to your feelings and what they truly are. Another thing is that jealousy actually does exist on the other side. Like I said, soulmates exist, twin flames exist. Soulmates are like two combs coming together. Twin flames are like, you know, mirrors to each other. They believe in partnership. They believe in the power of partnership and that intimate connection. So jealousy exists on the other side, but in a more muted form. It would be more of like a chaperone type of energy, where if my soulmate is on a date with another woman, like I walk into the restaurant and I just sit down in the booth with them. And I'm not mad, I'm not like angry in any way, shape, or form, but they just look at me like, what are you doing here? It's like, oh, I'm just here to chaperone. You know, and they're just like, okay, you know, like it's not this mean, angry energy. It's not like the type of mortal jealousy that we experience. It's a muted form. It feels like chaperone, like I care that my soulmate is on a date with another woman, so I'm just gonna like show up. It's like caring. So one of the things that they were saying is that, like, the jealousy is the cost of freedom. People value freedom, So sometimes jealousy will bubble up like a pot on the stove, and then it calms down. It bubbles up like a pot on the stove, and then it calms down. But it's like they manage any jealous feelings they have in honor of freedom, because they like to have that freedom, and their partners like to have that freedom. So they just manage their own jealousy and manage their own emotions so that they can have that freedom. So that's where the other side wants you to check in with yourself as well and make sure that you're being true to yourself. And then also the sweet words, like when your partners compliment you, their sweet words, like, are they affecting you as deeply, or are you just kind of sitting there like, yeah, well, you say that to everybody, like, do you feel as special? Do your partners make you feel as special? Or, do you just feel kind of like a number? That's another thing that they wanted you to explore. Because your higher self is so concerned with soul's growth, that's where the other side is really challenging you with regards to different levels of happiness. They're calling it like good, better, best, where, if you are with your soulmate or your twin flame, you are going to have that deeper connection, and you are going to have more intimacy, and you're going to have that telepathic connection where you kind of create your own world together. So that's where they were asking you if you would consider that level of commitment for a greater amount of soul's growth. Almost like them wanting to take the glass of wine out of your hand and say, try this one, and then you try it, you're like, oh, that one does taste better, but you wouldn't have known unless you like tasted it, and you're like, oh, this is better wine. It feels like that's what the other side is saying, is like, try this. And I understand why the other side is challenging you guys with regards to soulmates and twin flames, because they are making me feel like these energetic connections would be kind of a challenge to your lifestyle. I was reading a blog by someone who was avidly defending polyamory. And strangely enough, at the end of the article, it actually talked about how he was doing it because he had not met his soulmate. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing for someone who was really hardcore defending polyamory, and at the end of it's like, well, if I met my soulmate, I wouldn't be doing any of this. And I was like, whoa, okay. Crazy. So yeah, he actually made that assertion in his blog. But they just want to make sure you're making decisions based in self-love, because we accept the love we think we deserve. So they want to make sure that if you are like one of the sister wives, that you are happy with that familial structure where, maybe your children aren't getting as much attention from their father as they could, because he has so many children that they don't get much individual attention. So the other side's worried about the dad being spread so thin that the children don't get the love that they need from him. So that's another concern. But you, as one of the sister wives, like, how is your self-worth? How is your self-esteem? Since we accept the love we think we deserve, are you really getting what you need in this relationship? And I'm not going to sit here and make a generalization and say, oh, you have low, self-worth, you have low self-esteem. That's not true, because people have their own motives. Maybe you love having a part-time husband. Maybe you love having sister wives. Maybe you always have a babysitter. Every time you need a babysitter, maybe somebody is there. Maybe you need somebody to run to the grocery store. Somebody can do it. Maybe you love that familial structure and it's very supportive for you. Maybe you're happy with the amount of intimacy you receive. Maybe you don't mind sharing your partner. I'm not trying to knock that. It just feels like you're being challenged to like turn inward and make sure that you are demonstrating self-love in this lifestyle that you've chosen for yourself. And another thing that they wanted to challenge the polyamory people with is, are you demonstrating self-reliance? Because the other side is pretty big on self-reliance, where are you a fully functioning individual all on your own, or are you polyamorous because your soul is thirsty and you're trying to get what you need from multiple people, as opposed to just like sitting back in your own seat and giving yourself what you need and fortifying your own soul? Can your needs be met with multiple friendships? Do they all necessarily have to be romantic? Are you having all of these different connections to feed your ego? Is it more of an egoic pursuit, or is it genuinely true, deep love? They're just questioning that dynamic as well. Like, all of this attention that you have going towards other people, is that attention you could be focusing on yourself, and just being at peace, as opposed to, someone a little more restless who's just out and about and trying to connect with all these different people. And then the opposite of that is intimacy issues. People who would rather have multiple relationships that aren't as close and deep, because that's the amount of intimacy that they're comfortable with. Like, they would rather keep people at a certain distance as opposed to allowing one person to get really close to them. So that's also something the other side was asking is, maybe you're keeping people at bay because it's like, okay, that's close enough. Another thing they were bringing up was quantity over, quality over quantity. Like, maybe you have less partners, but those partners have, higher quality relationships with you, because there's only so much time in the day, especially for children. If you have children together, there's only so much time in the day you can give them. So you want to make sure you're not spreading yourself too thin. Another thing is self-protection is a form of self-love. So they're majorly concerned because they want to make sure that you're protecting your heart and also being responsible with other people's hearts. Because when you let your wall down and make yourself sensitive to others, you can invite emotional pain in, and then they can experience emotional pain as well. So they want to make sure that you're being self-protective and not being too frivolous with your heart. And also they want to make sure that you're being self-protective of your body, because your body is a temple. So they want to make sure that you are treating your body like the temple that it is and protecting it from, unnecessary exposure to STDs. Because if someone catches an STD, they don't go on Facebook and say, oh, I have an STD. They don't broadcast it. It's like a secret society. So STDs aren't really talked about. It is like, a growing epidemic here that people don't discuss. So just be aware that STDs are a real threat. So when you open yourself up to having these, intimate sexual relationships with multiple partners, and then they're having sexual relationships with their partners, it really increases the chance of you catching some sort of infection, some of which are lethal. So you're being asked to be extra careful there and demonstrate self-protection, which is a form of self-love. So again, they're not judging you guys at all. They just want to make sure that you guys are really in touch with your own wants, needs, desires, goals, motives, intentions, because we command universal energies with our free will decisions. So the checklist that I'm going through is making sure you guys commanding universal energies for yourself in a good way, because they're like, because we command universal energies with our self-love. We tell the universe, I love myself and so should you. We command universal energies with self-protection. I love myself and so should you. I mean, the more respect we show for our bodies, it's like respecting the gift that the divine gave us. So it's like, thank you, God, for this amazing body. I'm going to take care of it. It's like broadcasting an amazing signal to the universe. So the other side has pretty big fish to fry. So I'm not saying you're broadcasting a bad signal to the universe by loving multiple people. That's not what I'm saying. It just feels like you're being challenged, like a twin flame relationship. Let me do a visual here. I got these llamas from Cost Plus. I love them. They're like really soft and fluffy and cute. So let's say these are like twin flames, right? And they get together and, they're both STD free and they're just like fluffing each other's fur and having a good time. And, like they pop out kids, they get married, pop out kids, whatever. It's just, they live in their own world. They have a telepathic connection. They can complete each other's sentences because twin flames are like the other half of each other's souls. They are mirrors to one another. They are mirrors to one another. So do you see how these two are leading a higher level of existence because they found each other? They're mirrors, so they're going to get the most soul's growth out of each other because they are each other's mirrors, so they're going to challenge each other. And I'm not saying that it's going to be like easy street, because challenging each other is tough. When you're looking in a mirror, you're forced to face certain things about yourself. But it's considered a higher level of existence. So that was pretty much all I wanted to say. Is it feels like the other side is just like challenging you, because it feels like your higher self is going to be more interested in soul's growth and help to pair you with a soulmate, or a twin flame versus, multiple different people. So that's what it feels like to me. Because when you fall, deeply in love with a soulmate or a twin flame, it's pretty tough to get your mind off of them. They're like constantly in your thoughts. You have that deep soul connection, that deep energetic connection. You can feel their moods in your gut. They can feel your moods in their gut. I mean, you're so deeply energetically entrenched that it's undeniable. It's difficult to let that go. So that's where they were just asking you about the, good, better, best scenario with regards to happiness. But, life is all about balancing unconditional love for self with unconditional love for others. So as long as you guys are doing that, that's all that matters. Your happiness is all that matters. So if you're being true to yourself, then I wish you a life of happiness and love. And in the meantime, take care and be well. Thank you.